One nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
So, do a moment of silence. First of all, for a new administration that's coming in, and Mark is here. Dave's not, but I think let's all wish them the very best, and that they will serve the town well. But also for the passing of two town residents, Stella Agrasto, who lived on Franklin Road for a long time. And then for Cookie Dunham, that one's personal to me. Because Cookie was instrumental actually in my life in so many ways and in so many other people's lives. She was the town clerk here for many, many years for her husband. Court clerk for many, many years for her husband, Gary Dunham. And she passed away on November 30th. She will be sorely missed by a lot of people in this town. So for those three reasons, if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you. So I'm going to ask Mark Nardella to come up, our supervisor-elect. I asked him to help me with this, but it was a good way to get him used to having to run the show. But we're going to do a little special presentation for one of our town residents who deserves a lot of recognition.
Sure does.
So would Colby Green come on up here and he can have his parents come or his siblings or whoever he wants to.
Oh, you come out.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, yeah, very proud of you.
That's great.
Yeah. And this is Leah? Yeah, okay. Yeah. And this is mom and dad, Corey and Leah, and this is Colby. How old are you? 9. So I got an email a while ago from a town resident who thought that Colby was deserving of some recognition because Colby on his own, without anyone asking him, goes around his neighborhood and cleans up the trash all the time, right? Did you not just do it this past weekend or week with your dad?
Sunday night.
Yeah, crazy. So I wanted to do something special for him. And do this. I reached out to the county legislator, who is Dave Knapp, and asked him if there was something we could do for you. And so we would like to present you, first of all, with the certificate. Maybe you could read it, Mark, just to tell him what, so that the public can know what it says.
All right, the Onondaga County Legislature Certificate of Recognition. This certifies that Colby Green is awarded this certificate for his efforts to beautify his community and make Pompey a better place to live. This 12th day of December, 2023.
Well, that's pretty beautiful. Can we ask you a few questions? So how did you decide to do this?
It started with a fascination about garbage trucks and then it just led into cleaning up everywhere we want. He cleans up the Manly Swamp Pond around town here weekly.
So this is what, you know, what the person who. This is the picture of Colby with his, I don't know if you can see it, but it's with him with his, you must be with him when you.
Actually, it was his uncle.
Uncle
that
Louie.
day.
Okay.
He said multiple people help him.
So he goes out and collects trash and he does it on a regular basis. So what's the most common trash you find? Cans. What kind of cans? Let me guess.
Lottery ticket.
Really? Are they already scratched off and everything, so somebody didn't win?
I once found one on Swamp Road that wasn't scratched off and it was a $2.
Cemetery. And
What did
which
you
roads
win?
do you pick up on? I'm down SD sometime?
Or can you come up Kratz Falls Road, because all we have along Kratz Falls Road are bottles of beer. Yeah, so I see his grandfather over there, but there must be.
Yes.
All the
Grandparents.
grandparents.
Uncles.
Wait, you're Sarah's brother?
I am.
Makes sense.
This is really special. I just want to say, this is really special that he on his own has decided at his age that it is important to be a shepherd of our world.
Been doing it for a few years.
So, and I want to give you this. This is from all of us up here, the town, officials. So thank you so much. Really, thank you so much. We're very, very proud of you. Yeah.
Yes, open up your certificate.
Thank you.
Yeah, wrong over my head.
That's from my old Senate days. This is what I used to do. Excellent. Thank you.
By the way, his Aunt Sarah used to babysit for us.
You?
For me, it doesn't surprise me a bit. Great family.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. You're welcome. Okay, had to have one moment before Ian and I. So the next order of business, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Is the public hearing on our local law. To basically remove section G2. Subsection G2 from our, 16544, which is our code, and our zoning laws, and replace it with a new section. The old section was called home occupation, the new section is going to be called home-based businesses. A couple of orders of business. First of all, we're gonna start this hearing, but we're not gonna end it. It's going to go over to the next administration because we just are not ready to be able to vote. We don't have time to vote. And I'm not rushing the local law just because this current administration is changing. So, that's number one. What was the other thing? There was a second thing. Well, I'll think of it. So we'll start, oh, I know what it was. We don't have a referral back from, the recommendations back from county planning anyway, so we really be comfortable holding out their input. So we're not gonna hold a special meeting before the end of the year. So Mark and his administration will have an opportunity to deal with this. And I'm actually glad that you're here and other board members and will be here to hear from the public on this to start. So just by way of explanation, for those that haven't heard it before, but we've been here now. We have had a home occupation business on the books for years. This is nothing new. It has been on the books. It hasn't been enforced. So the current law, when someone came to the town asking for approval for a home occupation, which is what it's called right now, we didn't have a process. we could offer. We discovered that there wasn't even an application that anybody could complete. And in trying to draft an application, it became apparent that the current law was not workable. So we formed a committee of some town officials. James was on the committee. I was on the committee. Carl Fahrenkrug from our planning board was on the committee. And then four town residents, Norm Bailey, Joel Shealy. Get that right? Shealy. And who am I missing? Oh dear.
That's, yeah, here's on the other one.
Oh, Stan Hat was on the committee, and then we added near the end, Matt Foote, who actually had been the applicant that came to the town wanting to apply for approval, and has gotten caught in the crosshairs because we don't have a process. So the committee was unbelievably dedicated to this work. We spent months on it. As I think I mentioned last meeting, we're now on draft number 10. That is the one that has been presented to the hope of the intent and the purpose of the committee was to clarify what a home-based business is. And how you can, how you can operate one. Because the way we fashioned the new law, the one we're proposing, is there are a set of standards. If you meet those standards, you don't even have to come to the town. You're good to go. And it was meant to be that way because most of you who have who want home-based businesses will probably meet those standards because a home-based business is meant to be within the home or on the property, but seamless. It's not meant to impact your neighborhood. So we set up the first half of the law is the identification of the standards that would allow you to operate as of right. If you don't operate if you can't meet those standards, you can still try and get, excuse me, permission from the town simply by going to the codes officer, filling out an application and presenting it to the planning board to explain why your business is home-based, as the law intended home-based businesses to be. So for those of you who think that we're trying to shut down home-based businesses, that was never the intent of the law. We're trying to put together a process by which you can operate. Because otherwise, what happens, and if Tim were here, he would tell you this, Barrett, our code officer, he gets all the complaints because he gets it from the people that don't want it in their neighborhood and don't think that somebody should have it. And he has nothing that he can do about it. And there are people that want to have a home-based business. Well, this will clarify it one way or the other. There's also a list in here on the law of prohibited businesses that would not be allowed to be a home-based business. And I will say, the committee's work is not set in stone. That's why we're here. We want to hear from the public. We want to know what you think. It absolutely, if you recall what we went through with the solar law, we tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it after it came to the town board. So I anticipate that could be happening with this as well, that it will get tweaked as it should, depending on what the input is from you, the people that are here. Well, that was the other thing I wanted to tell you. There are sign-in sheets over there, one for public comment at the end of the board meeting, the other for the public hearing on this law, this proposal. There's also a chart. Joel Shealy did the chart for us, the committee member. It shows the provisions of the current law and the provisions of the new law. And I think what's very interesting is that for the most part, there is no difference. There are a few situations where the new law is a little more restrictive, but there are other situations where the new law is a little more expansive. So there is a sunset clause. Do you want to explain what that is, Tim? I mean, I could, but I'd rather get a. Very end. Which means that if you've been operating a home-based business, you're basically doing it in violation of the current town code, period. Because the current town code says you need approval, and if you haven't gotten town approval, then. But we all know there are many businesses in this town that have never gotten town approval that operate. So there is a provision. in there.
Allows those businesses to come in and be ratified by the enforcement officer. They have 180 days to do that so that they will conform to.
So. If anyone has a better idea of how to do this. Or all of this, because this was not and is not an easy. Issue to address. So, having said that, is there anything else I should add about, James, you got any thoughts about anything else?
Well, I thought it'd be helpful to say that, you know, as the comments are coming forward, important things we should hear are what, if there's different things than from what we've had on the list that should be appropriate without any approval, and if there's different processes for getting a permit or which ones different businesses that the public thinks should need a permit to operate. It'd be helpful for us to hear that, and if our list of prohibited ones is off, according to what you guys think, we'd like to hear, well, what this shouldn't be prohibited or that should be. Well, now is the time to hear this, so as we're finishing this up, we can make it so it meets the public at best. The main point of this whole thing is to try to give, you know, allow businesses. I'm very strong in thinking that, you know, I personally think almost any business is okay if it's not bothering the neighbors. That's my personal take on it. So, but obviously it's hard to put in a law, and I would say if you could put in a law that love your neighbor as yourself, we would not have to worry about this at all. And that's the best thing you can ever say to do, but we, you know, if there's, that's the whole point, is to try it. If, you know, and again, from the way I'm understanding this things, when it comes for the permitting process, it would be, okay, this is what we're doing, this is the scope of it. There's, you know, there's gonna be public comments on things, and if there's a not neighbor opposition to it, they pretty, you know, unless they're in that prohibited thing, they could get a permit and operate. So that's the point of it, and then they, you know, again, it's gonna be written, you know, the planning board would have a thing there, so they would have the scope of what the business is, so. As we've seen happen sometime, you know, and obviously businesses are gonna develop and change as time goes on, and it may require having to update things if things are gonna make a massive, you know, major changes in the businesses, because businesses do grow and things happen. If it's can be done in a good way, they can come back up here and say, hey, we're gonna modify our business, and planning board can say, so fine, keep doing it, or if it stays the same, it's fine. So I think that that's a good process personally, but
We're looking for positive input,
yeah.
constructive input, so that it, but really, this is not easy, so we're looking for help. So
Yeah, I mean,
give us your best.
Our committee went back and forth and round 100 times on, oh, this should be, that shouldn't be this, and now we're here, we need to get this, you know, finished up and.
And don't be, and I want to say this one thing, and then I think we should start the public hearing, but if you don't meet the permitting your business to operate as of right, that doesn't mean you can't operate. That just means you have to come and ask the planning board, tell them what you're doing, tell them why you fit within this, the intent of this law, and tell them, I need this, I need extra space, or I need an extra vehicle, or I can't, whatever it is that where you don't fit in, that's where you bring it to the town. And for approval. but there has to be some standard, if you will, or else we might as well not have zoning. Because if they don't get enforced, then there's no reason to have them. And the one that's been on the books has never been enforced. So, having said that, anybody else weigh in other than? I would ask then that Nikki, the legal notice was sent out to the public hearing. Okay, so
Open the hearing.
motion to waive reading the legal notice first.
Motion to waive the legal notice.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now we need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second it.
All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Just remember the rules.
So right now, we only have two people who signed up for the public hearing. So if anybody else wants to sign up, just come on up here. But the first is Barb Stacer. This is for the public hearing. That's for the public comment. That's okay.
Just remember, address the board. You have 5 minutes. Audience be respectful. No rules, we got starting. Let's just.
Barb Spacer, 3457 Sweet Road. I just had a couple of things. I think you used the term restrictive. I do agree that it's a restrictive law, the way it's written. There are some pretty big points in there out of the 17 that really target small business owners, which small business owners are a very large demographic across the US. You know, I was reading some statistics by Forbes, and I'll cite that it's Forbes because I know we like to cite where they come from. But 99.9% of businesses in the US are small businesses. Nearly half of all US employees are employed by a small business. And just 16% of small businesses have 1 to 19 employees. So we are talking very small percentage of employees for, you know, about 20% or so of the businesses. So I think when we're looking at the demographic of our area, we need to really look at what a small business is. And I'm not sure what work went into looking at the demographic of the area and the businesses that do exist. But I think it's important to do that because I think you're restricting a lot. So to add to that, we talked about the clause there at the end. So the sunset clause. So I think there's a couple of things to think about when it comes to the sunset clause. A moratorium was placed on any new applications for small businesses for 6 months, which I think is getting ready to run up. In that 6 months, we still weren't able to define a law for small businesses. So have we thought about the time it took to do that and the time it will take to hear everybody that's going to come forward with the restrictive clauses that are out there? And is the town going to be able to handle that? Is there the manpower? Is there the resources? Is there enough time to look at the number of businesses that are going to have to come in and apply for this? As far as the sunset clause, I think that there's a lot of impacts, particularly around the 180 days from the effective date of the law. For one, there's a retroactive impact. It may argue that there's imposing regulations existing on businesses retroactively, and that it could create undue hardships, especially if these businesses have been operating without an issue for an extended period of time. The 180-day timeframe, I think, could be considered too short for businesses to adjust, comply, and obtain the necessary permits, leading to unintended consequences such as their business closing. There's a lack of flexibility in the clause. The clause might not account for unique circumstances or challenges faced by certain businesses in meeting the outlined standards with a specified timeframe. Again, I mentioned the manpower, the resource, the enforcement. Enforcement's been an issue before. So what are we putting around the enforcement of this? So, they're enforcing compliance within the designated period could be very challenging, particularly if there are numerous businesses to oversee and potential delays in processing permits. Again, I bring that back to hardships that could cause for businesses. And I'll add that there's an impact on our local economy here. With stringent regulations on existing businesses could really negatively affect our local economy, especially if some small businesses struggle to comply and have to face closure. So I think that all of those things are potential points of rebuttal for the sunset clause. I think that again, that 180 days is very restrictive on top of all of the number of points that a business has to meet or potentially argue against, and to be able to come into compliance. So I think that there's a lot to think about for the members that are remaining on the board and the new members that will be joining. It wasn't done right before, clearly. There have been various ways of verbal, nonverbal acceptance and approvals, and I agree that things need to be more formalized for the town. But I do think we have to think about the impact to the businesses that have been able and have operated in our community for a period of time, because those are families, those are members of our community that are, contributing. And we have to think about that it could be very difficult to do that, and difficult for them, but also difficult for the town to enforce and to make sure that there's right governance around it. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say, I think you're misunderstanding when you say small businesses. We're talking about home-based businesses, small businesses.
A lot of those are. Right.
Are commercial, but
But a lot of small businesses are home-based businesses.
I understand that, but when you start talking about 19 employees, that's not a home-based business. That becomes a commercial business, and we're talking about businesses that exist in zoning districts that are not commercial, that don't allow commercial businesses. So if you have a business there, it needs to be home-based. And so I'm just pointing it out there. There is a distinction between saying small businesses and home-based businesses. The other thing is, as far as enforcement goes, we're not out actively hunting down businesses that, if they come to the town because of a complaint, that's when there is something done. So enforcement right now has to deal with complaints on both sides because the law is not clear. I think this would clarify so much that it would actually help enforcement, not hurt it. It wouldn't add to it. So that's my gut reaction to some of the things you've said. So
Can I ask?
the other thing I wanted to, just one other thing. 180 days is just for a business having to come to the town. That doesn't mean everything has to be resolved by then. That means that the business has to come to the town to take action.
To apply.
Yes, to
I think that says that in there. I don't know if that's clarified in there.
Well, that's what the intent is.
If they're working through the start of the process,
Yes, they're supposed to be coming.
that's what I thought, but if not,
The owners of such business are hereby required to obtain the necessary operating permit no later than 180 days.
Well,
Effective.
That's a change we might want to make.
so maybe should be
Yeah.
applied or
We need
something.
to apply to obtain.
Not obtain, but apply.
Apply. But because I do think that there so many businesses are gonna operate as of right. They're gonna be able to operate as of right. We did.
Right, and I thought our intent was to apply, that's why again, words are. And because it could take time to work through, if there are several, it could take time for them to work through, but if they've applied, I assume that meant that they were in, but that's.
Well, that's what tonight's about.
Yeah. That's
And
why.
that's,
So thanks for that's helpful to think about that. So. Next.
Grenier, 2010 Cemetery Road.
Few questions. Is this the size of property the same if someone's on 2 acres, someone's on 20 acres? Is it the same standard for every size property? Whether you're in like a more of a neighborhood or whether you're out, in a rural, maybe open fields, the standards are the same?
I think that number one, the standards to operate as of right are the same. But depending on where you live and the impact on your neighbors, if you have a lot of land versus a little land, if you're in a condensed or more, because we did not restrict this we did not eliminate any zoning districts from this law. So you could have a home-based business in the preserve or Pompey Pines if it doesn't bother your neighbors. So it all depends on how close you might be to your neighbors. And then if you don't meet those standards, then you come to the town and you make your case.
So if your business has like the required or the minimum, the maximum of 2 vehicles for your business, then they can complain or someone can complain or
Well, somebody could complain about that, but I'm saying if you're looking to operate a business, a home-based business, and you have, let's just say 3 vehicles instead of 2, then I can't.
You could come and get
You
a
can come
private
in and
permit.
advocate for your business and why it would be acceptable.
And that's where the planning board would, if you had 20 acres, it might not be a big deal if you have 3 vehicles, but if you were only have 2 and you got neighbors close by, it might be more, and that's was our hope and attempt was it, put it,
Yeah, we're not-
let them have some.
So that's gonna be decided by the planning board, like if someone wants,
If you're not, if you don't meet section 3, isn't it section 3 or
The permitted one.
C, it's now C, section C. If you don't meet, if you're outside of some of these standards, then you need to come and have a conversation with Tim Vera and apply to have the planning board review your business and determine if a permit should be issued. So we're not looking to be, and I don't remember using the word restrictive, but maybe I did. We're not looking to be restrictive. It's the opposite. We're trying to allow businesses in the town, but there's got to be some order to this. There has been no order.
well, has there been a problem? I mean,
Yes, yes,
people complaining.
yes.
There's some.
So who's gonna oversee this? Tim then, all the applications? He's gotta take all the applications and then.
But
make
the
the-
only applications are for people that don't meet the standards.
Okay, so he's gonna oversee that?
And then if the public wants to give comments on.
Yeah.
What we should do different with
Yeah.
these first standards, we'd love to have them, but that's, we've tried to, we tried to come up with some, but. It's only, the only ones that he's gonna be looking at and the planning board's looking at, the ones, not the. If they don't have too many vehicles, too much space, or,
I mean, a lot of extra work on it.
No, it really isn't. And the problem is, and it's very frustrating, is that the law has not been enforced ever. It's not been enforced. So, yeah, there's people that have been operating businesses, but outside of the approval that was needed from the town, we're not looking to scare them away. We're just looking to make sure that we have standards for what's allowed as of right. But we're also looking to make sure that if you don't fit neatly into a home-based business, like by definition, which are those standards, that there's some process by which you can get approval so that you can operate, because otherwise there's just no, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, there's no anything goes, anything.
How many
goes.
complaints a year do you get from people about home businesses?
Quite a few, and you'd have to ask Tim that, and I don't know off the top of my
Renee,
head.
can I say so? I know I'm just the town clerk and I don't
Yes,
have
you may.
I'm here just right to take minutes and to listen. But I will tell you, being here full time, working here every day, Tim is begging for this. He's like, it is so hard for me. My job is so hard because he feels like he's just struggling to enforce something that's not there. And I don't want to speak on his behalf. He would come to all of these meetings, but he has another obligation. He's in another town for night hours. Again, I have nothing to do with any of this, but I've asked him just like, how do you feel about this? Like, this is going to be something you're responsible for. He said to me, Nikki, like, we need something. Like, he is so stressed out. Again, like, I don't mean to interject, but just being here every day. And like, there's
He's already stressed out. How much more will he be?
no,
stressed out?
he's stressed out because there
There
isn't
isn't.
anything in place. He just feels like his job is hard to do because he just needs something just set in stone where he knows. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm telling you, he
He
really.
said that to me too.
I don't like the idea of additional regulation and people's freedoms being.
There's not additional, if you understand, it's that the law was never enforced. If you read the chart, there is really very few additional, if any. I mean, it balances out a lot. There's some that are, as I said, that are a little bit more restrictive, but there's where that's when I use the word.
I know there's
Some of
been
the
a
ones.
few like lawsuits this year about home businesses, so that's.
No, there haven't.
Or no.
Well, no, it's not a lot.
I know,
So
but-
yes, tickets have been, you asked, are there been complaints? Yes, there's been several complaints. In fact, my recollection is there's 3 of them in court right now. So and it's very difficult to enforce the tickets that are being issued by the code enforcement officer because our code doesn't have provisions in there that allows enforcement. So the process is still unclear for people. That's what this is trying to do, is make the process clear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next is Dan, and I'm not even gonna try. Because I get it wrong.
That's close
every-
enough.
So you please say.
Dan McClung, Michael.
I was gonna say before.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
usually say.
that's what I usually do. Yeah, that's what I usually do. Well, you'll have to bear with me because I had some stuff written down, but I packed it all up. I've already learned a lot about this local law just in what we talked about. So this is great. So I might stumble around a little bit since I had to make a number of edits. But I'd like to start by summarizing part of the intent and purpose section. I downloaded the law and read through it a couple times. I'm not a lawyer, but a couple things jumped out. The regulation seeks to balance the need of some individuals to work at home and the right of other individuals to enjoy the residential character of their neighborhood and their private property. The purpose of the regulation is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the neighboring residents, the preservation of the neighborhood as a comfortable place for the people who live there. Regulation is intended to be a seamless addition, not a disturbance to any neighborhood. This all sounds great. I love it. I'm a fan. You know, but something didn't quite make sense to me. There was a little inconsistency here. You know, this administration just advocated for and defended the approval of a 10,000 square foot moderate hazard industrial factory in the heart of a residential area. And only after several years responded to numerous complaints of regular occurring and excessive disturbances by stating it would be too hard to enforce. Yet in this law, section C11, home businesses shall produce no offensive noise or lighting. I'm curious why this is only applied to home businesses and not everyone. And what does offensive noise and lighting mean? We've been subjected, me and my neighbors have been subjected to excessive noise and light pollution over several years, and we have been unable to get enforcement action. How are we going to enforce this? Why is this only for home businesses? And what happened to it's too hard to enforce? To be clear, I'm all for protecting people's rights to enjoy their property. I'm all for protecting the character of the town and making Pompey a comfortable and pleasant place for those who visit and live here. And I'm all for working with local businesses to ensure they're operating in harmony with their neighbors and not to the detriment of a wider community. But taking a stand against the local mechanic who's making a couple extra bucks on the weekend fixing cars in his garage, I question if that's the right approach. I really like what you said, Councilor Rotundo, and what you said, Councilor Loomis. I love the language. You know, if you're not bothering your neighbors, what's the problem? So my ask when we consider this law, my ask is, would we consider outlining impacts to the community as opposed to trying to limit certain functions that people may perform in their house? To me, that's really what's important. Are you harming the environment? Are you being a good community member? If you are, does it matter if you're repairing appliances or if you're doing automotive body work? That's what's winding me up a little bit about this, but that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So those are the three that signed up for public comment on this local law.
So
Anybody else, any thoughts on there?
then I would make a motion just to adjourn this public hearing to when we schedule. Organizational meeting.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it that time, but we have to figure out the organization, but maybe the next regular board meeting. Which would be.
That would be the second Tuesday of next
Yeah.
month, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we should. Adjourn for all day.
Gee, on my phone, my phone's dead. What's the second Tuesday? The ninth. Nine.
I'm just curious, do people think we shouldn't have any regulation of home-based businesses? You're nodding your head, Debbie.
Yes.
You think anything goes, any home business, anything that anybody wants to do on their property is
It's
okay?
not bothering.
Well, there's the caveat, that's the problem. There has to be something because it does bother neighbors.
Yeah, if you had no, if you had nothing at all, that means you should never.
Let's start with the premise, okay, and I think this is what we're kind of all missing here. The premise is certain zoning in the town of Pompey allows certain uses. In a residentially zoned property, the only uses allowed would be residential uses. So we have this would be an exception to that use, which would recognize that in a residentially zoned property, there may be some uses that we would find acceptable that aren't just people living in their house, which we're calling home-based businesses. That law has been in place for many, many years in the town. It just hasn't been recognized. So anybody who is running a business out of a residential district would be in violation of the law because our code specifically says if the use is not allowed in this zoning district, then it is prohibited.
Yes, but it's not just, I mean, I think it's allowed in, home-based businesses are allowed in farm districts, in residential, in all non-commercial districts. It's not, but it's the single-family residence. It's a permitted use in those districts. Right? So that permitted use, if is where a home-based business could exist.
Home-based business, by its very definition, indicates somebody's living there.
Yes, yes,
Okay, so.
yes. I just want to make it clear that it's not just a residential zone, because in our code, residential refers to like a more densely populated district in the town versus farm. Farm district.
Farming there's a lot more uses in a farm and an
No,
agricultural district
But,
than just living there.
right. But I'm saying, but if you live in a farm district and your use is a single family residence of a piece of property, then that could allow for a home-based business, even if it's in a farm district, as long as it's truly home. And if it's not, and it's commercial, it has to be in a commercially zoned district, like Hamlet commercial, or we have very little commercial in this town. Very little industrial.
And it's not excluding, it just says you have to get a permit and ask for permission. So the scenario of the mechanic working out of his garage and makes some extra money, all you gotta do is ask for permission to do it.
Mechanic was strictly prohibited.
That's
so
prohibited.
would have to change.
Yeah.
That use is prohibited.
But you have to understand also, please, because that's a bad example, actually.
We did,
Wait a
we
minute.
did talk about
Wait,
that.
let me finish. Dan, it's a bad example because there is a whole section in the zoning laws about auto services. So that's,
It's unaware of that.
right, so
I
that's,
just picked it out.
no, I know. So, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason they should be commercially located because they use liquids and they seep into the ground. And if you don't have oversight of that in some way, which is why they're should be in commercially zoned areas, you can have ground contamination.
Like a brewery?
Don't respond.
I'm not going to.
Okay, so was there a motion to?
So
I made-
we need a second.
I second.
Oh,
So 6:35 on the second, what was the date?
19. 7.
In your public hearing. And by then you should have the results of the county plan or the recommendation from county plan, so. Okay, moving on. Hi. accounts.
Everybody's had a chance to review the bank statement and reconciliation for November 2023. Let's make a request that the board that.
A motion to approve the supervisor's bank reconciliation.
Second. Sorry, I skipped the statement of supervisors. You've all had a chance to review the statement of the supervisor. If there's any questions on that, let me know. Otherwise, like I said, request that the board make a motion to approve that for November 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the supervisor's monthly statement.
I'll second it.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Okay, getting towards the end of the year, so some accounts are starting to run low on funds, so we have to make some budget modifications. First is to increase the tax collection contractual account, a 1330.4. Cover the increased postage and other costs for tax collection. It's going to increase the account by $1,000. The source of the funds will be the contingent line. Second, do you want me to go line each one and make a motion, or do them all in one? Motion.
Let's go all at once.
Great. The second modification is going to be to cover the cost of window installation at the town hall. We're going to increase the buildings equipment line a 1620.2 by $1,747.92. This is going to come from the contingent line. The third is going to cover the budget shortfall caused by insurance endorsements as a result of new vehicles. This is going to increase unallocated insurance a 1910.4 by $1,278.59. The source will be the contingent line. The fourth is going to be to cover the budget shortfall due to increased costs for the outhouse. This is going to be an increase of $187.79 for historical property outhouse, a 7520.2. Coming from the contingent line. And finally, we're going to increase the
Engineer.
there we go. Wrote down the wrong copy. Engineer related to the landfill, a 160.92 by $4,250 due to higher than expected engineering and monitoring costs for the landfill. So we need a motion to approve those modifications.
I would make a motion to approve the 1, 2, 3, 4, those 5 modifications.
Second.
Any comment? Just so you know, the outhouse is related to repairs. Okay, so.
Overuse.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Few other things, interest income for the month from night class, $8,050. That brings us up to $99,956 year to date. So we should be about 107 or so for the year once we get December in.
That's very
Fantastic. A little bit of revenue yet to bring in, hopefully this month, if not this month, in January. For the second installment of mortgage tax, which typically comes in the end of December, early January. There's still some CHIPS money from New York State outstanding. And our fourth quarter of the cable franchise revenues about $20,000. Aside that, keep an eye on the budget and make some more modifications. Because there will be some bills that we pay in January for 2023.
And those will be credited to, debited, I should say, to 2023. Thank you.
If the boards have a chance to review my draft, I am looking for acceptance of the November 14 meeting minutes.
I will make a motion to accept the November 14th meeting minutes.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Good job on the minutes again.
Thank you. Also looking for approval for my bank reconciliation reports for both tax collector and town clerk.
Make a motion to accept the bank reconciliation, town clerk, tax collector for November.
Bill seconds it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
And the last thing I have is the vouchers I prepared for all the payment of bills. So I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
All those, or any discussion? I just have one thing, but it's not related to the payment of these bills. It's that, there's a couple. Yeah, so, and I'm not sure about Board of Assessment Review. They might have already been paid.
They did, they were
Okay,
already paid.
That's what we thought. So
Yeah.
there's two stipends that are missing. So my question, I don't know if it's of Jim or Tim, is it's just, we know what the stipends are. If Nikki can prepare those vouchers, can you authorize me to sign them so we can, so they don't, the checks don't get held up, even though they're not here?
What boards are they? Because they would each be right one
It would be, it's one on the zoning board, it's Sienna, and John Harrington on the ECC.
Okay, so it would be 300.
Yes, a total of $300,
For both of
$150 each.
those.
So is it acceptable to authorize me to sign, pay those if we know what they are, even though we don't have the vouchers in front of us?
We could even do the voucher numbers because I could put them in tonight after.
Yeah, I would just, I think that's fine.
Okay,
Yes.
Yes.
As long as you know.
Right.
You're pre-authorizing vouchers that would be accepted.
okay.
So I don't have the bills in front of me. So whatever the last one is, the abstract, just add 2 to those.
Yeah,
Okay.
abstract ends with 6:30, so it'll be 6:31, 6:30.
631 and 632.
Yeah, you might want to note on the voucher too, that was pre-authorized.
All right, pre-authorized. So they're each for 150.
Yeah, yep, good. Okay, I just didn't want them to miss out on their big
We'll cut
stipend.
checks for those tomorrow with everyone else.
Pardon me?
We'll cut the checks tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay.
So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried, to pay the bills.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm looking for board approval to pay all remaining comp hours for the highway crew. It was not used by December 1st for the Teamsters union contract. I have Ed and Bob Purcell, Ed Leakowski, Bob Purcell, 70 hours. Chris Hufford at 44, Patrick Corky at 8, Wyatt Burden at 7. That's unused hours.
Can we see that?
That is actually your guys' copy.
Oh, all right.
Sign it there.
Did you see that?
He emailed everyone to didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? He
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then here, take that.
Oh.
Yes. I would make a motion to approve the, what do you call it, comp time?
It's comp time,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, comp time that's based on unused overtime, basically. Per the union contract, as according to the list that VR has.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. VR, I just wanted, did I give you the letter from the Lions Club?
No.
I want to give this to you and I want to read it because it's really above and beyond, again, the call of duty and I think. So the Lions Club sent us a letter. That says, dear supervisor and board members, it has come to our attention that our Pompey's Lions sign has been stained and other maintenance done on it, stained in a good way. Other maintenance done on it by the town's highway department. Our members have had it on our list of things to do with our club not meeting in the summer months and aging working members. We have not yet scheduled it for the 2023-24 Lions year. Our Lions Club is a service organization that has been helping those less fortunate than us in the Pompey community, surrounding communities and globally since its inception and charter in 1965. It's very nice to be recognized by the town of Pompey by helping us out with some maintenance on our sign, which welcomes visitors and folks passing through our beautiful township. Our club members would like to thank the crew that worked on the sign as it looks very nice again. Please let them know we appreciate the job they did.
Good job.
I've been meaning to give you that and I forgot. Everybody seen the codes report? For November, Tim issued 14 permits, issued 8 certificates of completion. Issued 3 work to stop orders. And has 1 violation pending. Any questions? No. Then. Tim.
So you have the Blue Cross Blue Shield Advantage Plan Agreement for you. Standard, what we approved in the past, so I would recommend that the board or authorize the supervisor to sign that agreement. And Jim had one comment about. Want to point out that.
Yeah, there was a provision.
Yes.
There was a provision in there that essentially validates the policy if payment is not made within the first month, I believe it was. I'll have it for you. So-
Yeah, I think it was.
So we just need to pay attention to timing there, based on how the board meetings fall. We gotta make sure that that is paid. Whatever the due date of that invoice is. So there may be a need for a special meeting to make sure that that's paid.
We changed the, you know, now that we have our credit card, we changed the date that it would be, the bill would be due to after the board meeting because it was originally prior to the board meeting, which would have made us late every month. So it's, thank you, Mark. Thank you. Yeah. No, you're supposed to thank me for taking care of that because otherwise you'd be late every month. Okay,
I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign that.
I'll second it.
Bill seconded, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Town supervisors report. You'll see on the way out on the bulletin board, it's on it's on the Facebook page of the Pompey Hill Cemetery as well as on our front door. We posted it there too. Just letting you know that on December 16th at 1 o'clock, the Pompey Hill Cemetery is going to lay wreaths on the graves of all the veterans in the cemetery. That cemetery is full of military veterans. So anybody that would like to join them for a brief ceremony, and then they're going to, you can take a wreath and go place it on the veterans gravesite. They would welcome your participation and your attendance. So that's just public service announcement. Board members, we actually, for the first time, probably maybe ever, there was a report as is required from the Environmental Conservation Commission on their work in 2023. Short and sweet, but pretty much summarizes all of their activities. So I'm just sharing that with you. Nikki, we probably should give it to Veronica to post on their Facebook or on their Facebook, on their town page. Newly elected officials training is scheduled in Rochester for the January 10th through the 12th. So I have I have travel request forms for Diana Carpenter, for Mark Nardella, and for Dave Angelo to attend that conference. And I'm going to give them to you. I was planning on giving them to you, Nikki, with all three signed, but Pam, Dave's not here. Could you maybe take his home and have him sign it and we'll get it back? I'll leave it up here. I'll give it to you afterwards. But short of that, I think this is in order for you've got the description of the conference. Very worthwhile. I can't see any reason not to send them. So we need a motion to approve their travel. With that budget that's outlined.
I'll make a motion that improves the travel for the number of ratings, right?
Yes.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Before you leave, Mark and Pam, actually too, I'm gonna give you the registration forms because you're gonna have to get back to Nikki so she can complete this, but that's good day. There you go. That's yours. Okay, next on the list, I put this on here because I'm not sure, do I have to disband the committees that we were created for short-term rentals and home-based businesses? We don't need them anymore. I mean, their work is done. But does that need to happen?
But discontinue that. Discontinue those committees, make them more to do that.
I would make a motion to discontinue. Committees, we thank them. Especially the private citizens. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Organizational meeting for next year has to be set so that the next administration knows when that will be. So we typically have done, at least this administration, so has done where we would have the organizational meeting on the same night as the regular meeting, but prior to it. And then we would start the regular meeting. But in the first year of an administration, they might not want to do it that way. So, Mark, you got any thoughts on that? Is how you want to handle that?
I was trying to find my email registration.
More important things.
In so many days.
Yes.
It says as soon as.
It's
Yes.
5 days, I think.
No.
Okay.
It's-
I was used to it the same way.
Yeah.
It would make it easier.
Because the 9th is
Here.
like the second week, it's not, you're only 1 week into the new year. I don't see it as being a huge problem. With doing the organizational meeting on that. So you're just 1 week.
What would the rest of the board?
Yeah.
No.
I'd like to say,
James?
I'm fine with the same night, you know, if we want to start at your time, we can
Yeah, so
have.
it started at like, I would start it at maybe 5:30 or.
30. Yeah, I can show you how we've done it so that it really moves it along because it's very boilerplate. So it's not a big deal.
Nikki usually has the resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'll have a
And
resolution.
you got last year's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just basically assigned different board members to make the motion.
Go through the motions.
Was that a real one for everybody?
Yeah, started earlier. We're good, we're good.
5:30 on the 9th.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to hold schedule the organizational meeting for 2024 on Tuesday, January 9th at 5:30.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay,
Change that time.
so our employee handbook has badly been in need of updating. Hadn't been updated since 2017. And I was bound and determined to work on it because it needs to be compatible in many ways with provisions in the union contract. So I have a draft that the board all has. We've all had an opportunity to look at it. I've highlighted some areas that I tweaked from what from the draft that you originally were working off of. So I don't know why this didn't paginate it. It was on there when I file saved it, but it's not on here now. So you have to go to section 7. I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with the language. We got it. Okay. I mean, there's very little that, other than that, in section 7A. And then A4. I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable. Yeah, one of the things we changed in here, get to the vehicle usage policy. It's only vehicles the town owns are highway vehicles.
Yeah.
We changed from, the town supervisor shouldn't be the one overseeing vehicle usage, it should be the highway. supervisor. So we just swapped out
That makes sense.
highway sweeper that.
Yep.
Okay.
You have access to the abstracts, right? Renee doesn't have the abstracts, you do, right?
For the employees?
The abstracts, yeah.
Good? Everybody had a chance to look at it? Okay. Somebody want to make a motion or?
I'll make a motion to adopt the draft as the employee handbook.
I'll second it.
Second it, all those in favor, or any more discussion, I should say, all those in favor? Aye, opposed, motion carried. I will clean this up from the highlighted sections and I'll get it.
And send me some so I can hand them out.
We know.
Yes, oh, yeah,
Well,
yes.
For the guys out, that's all.
yeah,
For the January.
yes,
Okay.
Yes. Um. So public comment.
First, Don Sala. Solomon.
Solomon Seal Lane.
Oh, Lane, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
I wanted to, I'm going to speak in plural, the first person plural. Because I think my thoughts represent that of many community members. First, I want to congratulate Diana, Mark, and Dave on their re-election and election to the board and town supervisor. I think we owe them thanks for their commitment to the community, both in time and energy, and the service they're going to provide to us, and we're all looking forward to working with them. I want to take a special moment to thank Ann Christmas, who is retiring from the board. I don't know the exact number, Ann, but when we moved here in 2002, I believe we were writing our tax checks to you.
32 years, so thank you, Ben.
32 years. Over 30 years of service to this community, and it is greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
We really appreciate that work as town clerk and then your 4 years on the board. All of us should think about this. And thanking Renee. After 4 years as town supervisor, I've worked closely with you and watched the amount of work you put into this. Dedication you have to this town, the vision you have of always doing what's right for the town and the town residents. Sometimes that's not, some members of our community don't see things the same way you do. But I know that in your heart, you've always had the best interests of the town and its residents in the forefront, and that's what your consideration is. We are a better town than we were 4 years ago, in large part because of the work you've done, the talent you brought to the supervisor's role. And we want to thank you for 4 years.
Victoria Lightcap. So quickly.
She didn't make it.
John Chicking.
798 Gulf Road. Well, Don took a little bit of the wind out of my sails. I wanted to personally thank Ann and Renee for the last 4 years of service you've given to this town. And Renee in particular, your integrity, your transparency, your undaunted commitment and love for this town was very evident, and it was really a pleasure working with you the last 4 years. So good luck in your new endeavors.
And that's it.
I have a couple here. Yeah, license. This is from Don Shedlock.
Oh.
Ann's brother. Very happy to remotely attend my sister's last board meeting tonight. This will end a long dedicated career of family members from our grandfather, FX Costello, town supervisor, our mom, Betty Shedlock, town clerk and town council person, and Ann, town clerk and town council. Sorry, that was very.
Thanks, Danny.
From Stan and Linda Gorman on Sevier Road to Renee and Ann, a sincere thank you to both of you for all you have done for the town property.
Very nice.
So, I'm just gonna take a little bit of liberty with having the last word. We did accomplish a lot. We accomplished an awful lot, and this town is better than it was 4 years ago. It's better financially. Our infrastructure is stronger, and I think PR would definitely attest to that. We have saved money in places where it was terribly being wasted. We've made so many upgrades to IT. We have no cybersecurity liability insurance when I took office. We've provided public access to our meetings, so many more people because we live stream. We don't have to live stream, but we choose to. I wouldn't change it for the world. The thing I would change is trying to get the sound better in here by live stream. I know. I wish we could do both, but somehow it seems that one doesn't allow the other. But Mark, you can work on that. But I just want to say that it has been an absolute honor to be your town supervisor. It's been an honor to work with these people that are sitting up here with me. Tim? I can't say enough about it. You have been such a resource to us, all of us, always available, always willing to take a phone call. And if you're indisposed to call, to text and say, I'll be available in 15 minutes, an hour, or whatever, and always calling me back. I cannot thank you enough. We are just absolutely blessed to have you. Jim, you took on a daunting task and have the budget process was new to you. And we sailed right through it, and we had a couple little things out of order, but we got that straightened out and it all worked out. Veronica? You know what I think of you. I think you are just so special to come out after your day job and sit here and sit through some of these lengthy meetings. And I started on this board with Sheila Larkin and Carl Dennis, and they were invaluable with their years of service and their expertise, so I thank them. I feel like I'm giving a speech, an acceptance speech. Now I'm just one more. And then we had Judy McElhennon for a while, until she decided that this wasn't right for her. And then Dave stepped in, Angelo, for those 6 months and really excelled. Diana came on, been here a year. Now she's reelected. Dave has now been elected, so what goes around comes around, and it's all good. And James, I don't know what to say about you. Other than you are in a class of your own. You have been a great resource. I really have valued your perspective. And I really know how hard it is for you to juggle everything you have in your personal life and your work and still get here to meetings and be on committees. So thank you.
This time I answer.
What can I say? Bill, he stepped up when he didn't have to, and he took a risk. And I think this town has been better for it. It's paid off. He has been a great town councilor. And, I can't thank you enough for what he did. I will never forget it.
We are.
Hi, Renee.
I want to just say that my relationship with the highway superintendent, whether it was Tom Purcell before BR or BR, has been exemplary. We have collaborated, we've worked together, we've figured things out, he needs this, that, or the other thing, we figure out how we can come up with the money. I wish you all the best in your second term. I don't think you need it so much because I think you got a good handle on what you're doing, but you got this guy who's your liaison,
Oh, yeah.
so how can you go wrong? And then Nikki. So you do so much for the town. You are so pleasant I have never heard her have a single nasty word to say to anybody when they come to your window. You are just so sweet to everybody, and that is such a benefit to the town to have that kind of a demeanor when people come, because they mostly come to see you or Tim. Fair. And I will thank Tim publicly too, even though he's here, because he has been. We have a great codes officer now. We do. He understands, he knows the building codes, he understands our code, he works hard. And it's not gonna be me at the organizational meeting making any appointments, but I just say what I feel about him. He is tremendous. And in a day when you cannot find codes officers to hire or that are qualified, or even now tax assessors, because they're all aging out and retiring, we are so fortunate to have both. So I just want to I thank everybody that I have worked with here. We wouldn't have gotten nearly the work done that we got done if it wasn't for the personnel that we have. And I have to say, I am very proud of how much money revenue we took in the 4 years. It's almost $1 million, that non-taxpayer revenue. So think about that as far as how much that's saved from each of our pocketbooks, because we're all taxpayers here. And I'm really, really proud of that. But having said that, I'm done. I've said what I wanted to say. I just really wanted to thank everybody, and I want to thank the public. As much as we have had our moments of discord, you're engaged, and that's huge. That's huge. These meetings, nobody used to come. And I don't know if now that they're coming, it's a good thing or a bad thing or what that means, but I just think that stay engaged and demand that your elected officials serve you, because that's what we are here to do, is to serve. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn for the last time for mine.
Make the motion. Second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.